Here is an instructional video for how the vacuum system on the Rover SD1 works. You will find under this protective flap here a vacuum reservoir, and it's got two hoses. One comes, the thicker of the two hoses is actually coming from the engine manifold and is providing vacuum, and then you've got another hose here which heads off through the bulkhead. Can't see it really down here through all this gubbins, but it goes off through the bulkhead and it comes into the car. Now they should be labelled. This is F, okay? Now F is the source of vacuum for the heating system and sits on the right hand side. To the left is a vacuum hose exiting the car, and that goes off to the cold water valve, which on a carburetted engine sits just out of reach under the airbox. Okay, so F comes in, goes up round the back of the heater box and comes out the other side. So I'm going to see you on the other side. Okay, so hose F comes in here. It should, again, if it's still got tags on, that's really helpful, but comes in and then it has a splitter. Now the lower part, or one part of the splitter, is actually going to divert off. It will gain a label of FA and it will go into the main diverter, which is here. Where are we? There we go. This hose here is hose FFA, and this goes into this little switch here, which has another hose coming out of it, which then goes off back around the airbox to the port in the bulkhead and to the cold water valve, which we were just looking at. The valve is opened when this is pushed, and indeed the cold water, or rather when you set the heater to cold, it pushes the switch accordingly. So one thing you need to be aware of is these can lose vacuum. In fact, if any part of the system loses vacuum, then the whole thing fails, okay? So if that loses vacuum, then that is a vacuum is going to escape and it's not actually going to achieve anything. So it comes through, and then we have all this gubbins down here. Now these hoses, if they're able to be labelled, I don't know if we can see any labels on there, but they do go into a number of ports, and those ports go into those ports are explained in the workshop manual. And it's the activation. Oh, it's the activation of. To remove that, it's the activation of this switch here that actually. I think what happens inside it moves a plate, and the plate then opens up diverts the air into various ports. Sometimes it's one, sometimes it's more than one, and off it goes. Now FA is this one here, or AF rather, is this one here, and that's where the vacuum comes in. So one of the tests you can do is if you take this off, and you and these can be difficult, and you must be careful because they can rip. Indeed, when I was fixing the one down there, trying to get them off, it did indeed rip. So we don't want to be doing that. So we've got vacuum comes in, and we can see if we were to take it off, we can see whether or not we're getting vacuum or not. Or if you want to be a bit more careful, we can take it off at any point here. The ports, as they are, do various things. So you're going to find port AG activates this diverter here. That diverter handles whether or not we're looking at floor vents or whether or not we're going to be looking at heating. So it deals with that. What's next? If we're going to go on to heat, okay, so G looks at heat and defrost. Vents is going to open ports B and port D. B goes off to that actuator there, and we'll open the vent halfway. Unfortunately, I don't really know what D does. D ends up going into where is it now? Yeah, into that green solenoid switch there. Goes into that. It's applied with current. It then D then opens up and goes into C. I think it's got something to do with the cold, fresh air recirculation. But don't quote me on that. Okay, so I talked about A, B. Let's think about AA. And AA is going to be used when we're in the norm and max position. So there's max and norm, and this is where air conditioning ends up being activated. AA will further open the face vents. So this actuator here has actually got 2 ports on it. It's got one for AA and one for AB. And when we're on max or norm, AA and AB both get vacuum, and this opens fully, and it's really nice. You know, you get a really good blow. Okay, so there's one last on here, which is AE. So AE is activated on max, and when we are in the off position, and it's for fresh air. And it goes and opens that box there. So there is an actuator inside this box. There's a massive radial fan in there, and it will open that up. It's behind the glove box. It opens up, and it will blow or just let fresh air in. Behind that is at the bulkhead of the car, in the underneath the vent. Where you would find apparatus for the windscreen wipers, you're going to find there's an open vent for fresh air coming into the car, so part of the recirculation system. Okay, other things to be aware of. You can see here, this is part of my earlier repair or attempts to repair. There's a joiner here. I think that this has been cut before on my car. That's a new pipe, a new hose. This is the original hose. There are retaining brackets on here and above. If you want to find out more, you can watch my videos where I actually work out how all this happens to work. And like I say, that will actually activate when we happen to be on max, or when any of these settings are chosen and we're on the off position. So what else should I say as well? So you might hear that there's a bit of a satisfying click when you get to the end of either end of the slider. Largely that's due to the flap that's going on, and a bit of a mechanical thing going on. And like I say, when you've got the this set to cold, this operates on the valve. It sends air, and I'll show you air back in a moment. It sends you air to, I don't know if you can see it. It's in there. There we go. Look, there's a valve. Where's my finger? There's a valve. Oh, I'm not gonna be able to show you, but there's a valve in there, and it's on the hot water pipe, and it basically blocks the sending of hot water into the heater box. So it's a good place to check for that. Again, if that's got a leak, if any part of the system's got a leak, then the whole thing is going to fail, at least on that setting anyway. Okay, so I'm one happy chap. I'm going to get my actual aircon apparatus in the engine service now. I'm going to get my car back together again. I hope for anyone who's trying to fix their aircon this has been useful, and just send me any queries you got. I seem to know a bit about this now. Thank you and goodbye.